Hey guys, Troubletcat here, recording for the Zombie Arcade. We're looking at the new Armored Kill DLC today. Looks like I'm going to be playing Alborz Mountains. I didn't predict going to this. This is a live commentary I'm recording as I'm playing. This is kind of a first impressions video. I've played every map, most of them a couple times now. I was playing quite a bit last night, and God, I don't even know where to start. It's pretty dope. That'd probably be the first thing I'd want to say about the game is it's pretty fucking dope. I think the first thing that sort of struck me when I'm gonna use the AK, yeah. I think the first thing that kind of struck me when I sat down and started playing this was how good the maps actually look. I mean, they're not blue, there's hardly any lens flare or anything like that, any of that bullshit, and they're a lot more detailed in the base game. I mean, I really... I'm out of chat now. People in this server are really fucking mad about everything. Anyway, I really wish every other map in the game, the base game maps, looked this good, particularly, you know, the lack of too much of a blue tint or sun flare or anything. I mean, this map is doesn't have particularly vibrant colors, but I mean, it's a snow map, and it's still not blue, and I mean, the only map that is blue in this DLC is the night map, and again, I mean, that's fine, and they look really fucking good. They look fantastic, so I mean, that's probably not going to be the main thing for most people, though. I guess, you son of a bitch. I'd say, I guess, the main thing most people are going to want to know about is going to be the new vehicles, like the gunship, the tank destroyer that I'm currently... Why the fuck isn't this guy moving? Fuck you. What was he aiming at? The main thing people are going to want to know about, I guess, it'd be, you know, the new vehicles, like the tank destroyers, the mobile artillery, the gunship, and of course the little quad bikes, the ATVs. And naturally, probably going to be more interested in how the maps actually play, as opposed to just the fact that, holy shit, they're absolutely gorgeous. Although, you know, it's good that they're nice too. Oh, this guy's a really bad fucking life. You know, it's nice that they look good, but as for how they play, I played them both in Conquest and Rush, and I tried Tank Superiority out a little bit, although Tank Superiority isn't really going to be my favorite mode. If you guys didn't know, Tank Superiority is... It's essentially King of the Hill. There's one capture point and a hell of a lot of tanks for each side. And, I mean, because of the fact that it's one capture point, most people seem to ignore the capture point for the most part and just kind of TDM with the tanks. I honestly see it as, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much team deathmatch with tanks, since, for the most part, people ignore the capture point. Or if they don't, I mean, mostly it just serves as somewhere around which the fighting is centered. It's not really, it doesn't really have that same level of, like, strategy or tactics that you might hope to see in other game types. But, I mean, it's fun. Just not my, my thing, exactly. Aside from that, definitely, Conquest is definitely the star of the show, particularly Conquest Large, 64 players. Definitely the star of the show, the game type people are going to be most playing and wanting to play on the new maps. And, for the most part, I think the maps play really well. In fact, I'd say that what I'd say about it is that it reminds me a lot more of old-school Battlefield games. I don't know if that's because there's more vehicles, the maps are bigger, more vehicles spawn at the control points as opposed to only, as opposed from only spawning at your base, pretty much. If it's because, yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's a lot to do with the fact that, yeah, the points are more spread out, and there's sort of more vehicles. You sort of get that feeling in older Battlefield games, a lot more, I think, of being, you know, part of this really big, epic scale kind of battle. You definitely feel, you're definitely going to want to be in a vehicle a lot of the time on these maps, just because the distances are so great, but there's room for infantry play as well. There actually is, although you get much more of the sense, and I think this was, for me anyway, the case in older Battlefield games, that when you're on foot, when you're an infantryman, on a lot of those older Battlefield maps and an Armored Kill, you get this feeling that you're kind of the underdog. You know, that you're kind of, you're a very little, dude surrounded by all these tanks and fucking giant explosions, and you feel a lot more exposed and vulnerable, I'd say, as infantry on these maps than on a lot of other maps. But that's okay too, and I don't know, they just... yeah, they have this feeling, they really do achieve what I think people wanted them to achieve with this DLC, which is a real feeling of sort of an epic scale and just awesome battles and shit, and it really does remind me a lot of the Battlefield of Days of Yore. So I mean, if you didn't buy Premium, but you were looking at picking up Armored Kill, if this was the only expansion pack that was looking interesting to you or whatever, and you want to know if they sort of if they succeeded in making something that sort of captures a little bit more of that older Battlefield feel than most of the base game maps maybe did, then absolutely, it definitely, I feel anyway, they definitely accomplished that, and they're fucking great. I'm not a big fan of one of the maps, Armored Shield, but, you know, I don't hate it, I'm just not an enormous fan of it. I prefer Alborz, Bandar Desert, and, the night map, Death Valley. But, you know, 3 out of 4 is not bad, and as I said, I don't hate it. This one, I'd be hard-pressed to choose a favorite. It'd probably be either Alborz Mountain or Bandar Desert. Death Valley has a really, really good layout, and it's a fun map to play. I don't find it as interesting visually as this map in Bandar Desert. It sounds strange to say that I find Bandar Desert interesting, considering how much of the game is fucking desert maps anyway. And I mean, Alborz Mountain is the thing that's something really exciting visually, really different from the other maps in the game. But Bandar Desert's actually really cool too. It's got much more sort of a desolate feel to it than most of the other maps, and at the same time, I don't know, you'll get a chance to see it in future videos. I'm going to be trying to make my next few videos all show, you know, all 4 of the maps from the DLC, one each, in my next 4 BF3 videos, whatever the topics happen to be, so you guys can see all these maps and how fucking dope they are. Man, I know I'm ranting a fair bit, but I've actually, I don't know, I've just been really, really having a lot of fun with the game last night and today playing these new maps, and it's just, I don't know, it's made me, rejuvenated a lot of my interest in the game. It's made me a lot more excited to start up this game and start playing, just because, you know, aside from the fact that it's something new, these are some really nice maps. Holy shit! I actually got that guy off the ATV. Impressive. Didn't think I was going to manage that, but I gotta get the fuck out of here now. Okay, there's still a dude. I think he's chasing me. Probably shouldn't be reloading. Maybe he's not chasing me. Maybe he fucked off. I'm gonna continue up to G. Oh shit! Die, you son of a bitch! My God, I engendered all the failure I ever have. Yeah, I don't know. I've been feeling a lot more excited about playing the game, having a lot more fun with it lately than I have been in a long while. Well, not lately, just like yesterday and today, because of these new maps. It's great. So, about Rush, as I was saying, Conquest is definitely sort of the main game type for the DLC. I think a lot of people were thinking, you know, Rush would be not that good on these maps, a bit of an afterthought. My view on it is actually the maps, the ones I've played Rush on, which is only a couple of them so far, but Rush works well. I mean, it's good. It's not quite the same scale. You get a little bit more of that focused feel. It's still kind of heavy on vehicles, and there's longer distances to cover and stuff like that, but it is a little bit more tightly contained, I'd say. I need a vehicle. I don't want to run all the way the fuck over there. Go back up to E here, see if I can get a car or something. It's a little bit more tightly contained, as Rush is, and in general, though, it still works. It's still a lot of fun. There is one problem with Rush, though, and that's the gunship. You'll notice I haven't been being raped to death by it constantly in Conquest. In fact, if you've been watching the kill feed, you probably wouldn't have seen that many kills from the gunship. In Conquest Large, it's definitely a significant resource. You want to control the point that lets you have the gunship. It does help if you've got good gunners in there who, you know, can do the job well of murdering everyone. But it's not super dominating. It can be taken out pretty easily by jets and, you know, anti-air and stuff like that. In Rush, though, when you've only got half as many people, and more importantly in Rush, when you're all sort of contained in this tight little area, the attackers have an AC-130, and it ends up for the defenders often being a case of sort of just getting spawn-killed by the AC-130, the game, which obviously isn't the most enjoyable thing in the world. there's enough people on PC with 32 dudes that you can normally take it out, but it has quite a short respawn time, and also, while you've got, you need 3 or 4 people on your team shooting it down, trying to hit it with stingers and stuff like that to bring it down, you're going to have less people watching the MCOMs, the attackers will be rolling in with a lot of tanks, a lot of your engineers have stingers to get rid of the gunship. It's just this sort of snowballing effect where it ends up being this really, really dominating thing in Rush, to the point where I think, people often say that in the base game the defenders have a little bit of an advantage in Rush. I think it's actually pretty balanced on most maps, but in these maps I definitely feel like there's a really, really heavy attacker advantage because of that AC-130. I think all they really need to do in Rush is make the respawn time for the AC-130 a lot longer, so that once it's been brought down, the defenders, don't have to think about it for, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, instead of right now, I think it's, 30, 45 seconds, something like that. It's a very, very short respawn time, same as, all vehicles in this game, pretty much. But, yeah, I mean, if they do that, if they increase the respawn time on the AC-130, in fact, I even think they could make the AC-130 a little bit more durable. It feels like a death trap a lot of times in Conquest because there's so much shit shooting at you. It does blow up pretty quickly. I'd actually, I don't know, give it a faster flare recharge or make it more durable personally. Leave the weapons how they are, but just do that. And I'd give it a much, much longer respawn time. That is how I personally balance it, is I'd make it something that's very intimidating, very hard to bring down, and is really domineering when it's up, in Rush, especially with so few people when in a tight area. But once it's down, you can sort of breathe a sigh of relief and relax for a few minutes and know that, it's not going to, show up behind you or something like that. I have to go take out this mobile artillery. Hopefully it doesn't see me coming. As you might have noticed, the mobile artillery are basically just, he's going to try and detonate me with the rockets. That's not going to work out for him. Good. As you can see, the mobile artillery are basically just big trucks, so like when you're driving them, you can just be shot. You can take them out with grenades and AT and stuff like that really, really easily. Grenades damage them, I'm pretty certain. I haven't actually managed to kill anybody with one of these things yet, so I'm gonna give that a shot right here today. They're kind of hard to aim, is the thing. So you need to be in seat 2 to actually fire. Seat 1 is the driver's seat. Seat 2, you fire dim rocket batteries. I don't really want to be up this close to an enemy position in this thing. Not exactly ideal, because I'm not actually going to be able to hit a goddamn thing. Yeah, it's not really the best tool for the job at the moment, considering my job is going to be to retake this point. But, I mean, you can see here just how big the maps are. I've been running around in this area of the map for a while. But I'm really far away from where I spawned, way down in the fishing village and stuff like that. Just it's the same in Bandar Desert, which is the biggest map. There's all these sort of different areas, and you can spend, an entire 800-ticket game fighting in one area of the map without even, going to another, and still... I think a lot of sort of the awesome feel of these maps comes from the feeling that you can do, like, your own little small thing. You might just hold one point, you might sit in the mobile anti-air, you might fly around in the jet, if that's your style. Oh god, my monitor has begun to flicker. I think my monitor is, like, on its last legs, which is a shame, because it's like 2 years old or something anyway, and I really like this monitor. Let's not talk about that, though, and just hope it stops and goes away. So you can just sort of do your own thing and still feel like you're part of something bigger, and you're contributing to your team, whereas in most of the base game maps, I always sort of felt like I was, having to run around to the next objective, having to always change what I was doing to try and, I don't know, and that reminds me a lot more of the older Battlefield games, because I remember in those games, I'd just kind of do my thing, and, not think so much about the big picture. You do your own thing to try and help your team to win, and, everybody else does that, and it just sort of, I don't know, it's hard to describe, in a lot of ways, why I feel that this has a lot more that classic BF feel. I don't know, it does. Yeah. This is a ridiculously high-ticket server, so I'm not gonna make this video this whole game. This would be here for a long fucking time, but the first thing I did when I started up Armored Kill and came in here is I actually just pretty much ran off into the fucking wilderness and embraced the serenity. I mean, look at this shit. It's fucking gorgeous. Anyway, to sum up and conclude, Armored Kill, really fucking dope. 3 great maps, 1 decent map. I don't particularly like Armored Shield. It's not terrible, but I don't really like it. But it's decent. You know, it's not a bad map, and I mean some people will probably like it a lot more than I do. Anyway, 3 really good maps. One okay map. All of them absolutely gorgeous, and for me, I definitely think they've succeeded in doing what I think people wanted them to do and what they set out to do. In fact, I think if there had been more maps like these on the base game on release, we wouldn't have had so much anger from the community about the direction of the game, both in terms of art direction and fucking getting killed by recon from 1,000 miles away. No, both in terms of, art direction and stuff like that, because, I mean, these maps the visibility's a hell of a lot better. They're not blue, they're absolutely gorgeous. Both in terms of art direction and in terms of gameplay, I think if more of the maps had been like this on release, the community as a whole would have been a lot, or at least the community of people who came from older Battlefield games would have been a hell of a lot happier with the game, with the direction the game went in, so... I mean, it's not like they changed the shooting mechanics or anything like that. This is still definitely Battlefield 3. But, if you were wondering if it captures more of that feeling that you might remember from the older Battlefield games, the answer to me is unequivocally, absolutely yes. This is definitely the best DLC pack they've released so far. If you're somebody who's only interested in that faster-paced, small-scale kind of gameplay, then I guess give it a miss. But I think you're really doing yourself a disservice if you don't get this expansion pack, in BF3. This is the battlefield of my people. I'm about to be killed really horribly. Gunship! Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. As always, let me know what you thought of the video. I'll have more footage on the Armored Kill maps coming out in the next few days, and until then, Troubletcat detonating horrifically.